You've seen the pre-setup video that explains all the components that go into the under-awning annex. Now we're going to show you how they all go together to create the annex itself. Normally when setting up an annex, once I've got my draft skirt in place, I would put the floor down. But this annex is a little bit different in that the floor extends a bit past the draft skirt at both ends. It's a little bit windy today. It's gusting in excess of 30 kilometers an hour. So that's going to add a little bit of a challenge to this, but it'll also give me the opportunity to show you some tricks how we can get our awning out in place and not have it get blown over the top and damaged. So there'll be a point where I'll peg it down and then unpeg it to complete the annex. Now this piece for the back corner here is identified as it's a very long triangular shape, and at the top it's got a small sock section for a pole to insert there later. So what we do, slide it into the sail track, always be careful, feed it in neatly so nothing catches and nothing tears. Feed it all the way in. Then our bottom Velcro section attaches to our draft skirt. Okay, so pressing down firmly on our Velcro, you get that firmly together and there's far less chance that the wind is going to blow it. Now I can turn this section out and peg it down, and it will give me an exact reference to where the floor needs to come to. So now as I peg the end of this triangular section in, I'm actually going to only put the peg in part of the way. Now that's just to hold it in place until I put my floor down. Now I've got my floor laid out and I've lined up the eyelet in the corner of the floor with this end D-ring. Now I can remove the peg and peg the both down together. For this purpose I'll put the D-ring underneath, make it nice and neat. Turn the peg so I can hammer it all the way in and not cut the vinyl. That easy. And I'm doing the same with the other end. I've only put the peg in part of the way, so it's nice and easy to remove. Put my eyelet over, my floor's nice and taut there. Now I can get the peg in. Because it's windy and I'm flying solo on putting this annex together, no kids or spouse to help me, I'm trying to do as much of the assembly as I can before putting the awning out, because the awning is always the most vulnerable component when it's windy. If it's not secured, a gust of wind can pick it up and literally smash it over the top of the caravan. An expensive mistake that we simply don't want to make. So now I'm putting in another infill piece that runs into the sail track at the front of the caravan. It's that odd shaped triangular thing with the triangular section at the top. Feed it into the sail track at the front of the caravan. That's all the way in. So now that piece is ready to go. We can continue on with the rest of the annex. My plan of attack to ensure that I don't do any damage to the awning is I'm going to extend it most of the way, and I'm going to put the awning legs in the receivers on the side of the caravan. So now the awning's out far enough for me to attach the legs either side. You've got to pick your time between gusts, and that's what you've got to do. So now, even in pretty poor conditions, I can bring this awning out sectionally until I get it into the right position. It's secured, and once I get the anti-flap struts on either side, I've got a very solid roof foundation to put up the rest of the annex. Now I can edge it out further. And by doing this, The front of the awning is attached at all times. It's got support. These will stop it from blowing up or blowing down and damaging the main section. To make it easy to get my clamping strut up into position, I'm using the top section of the end wall at the back. So it's Velcro with sail track on top, a slight triangular shape to it. So what I'm going to do is slide that into the aluminium extrusion and then put that into place. Keeping in mind that this section is the section that clips in behind the awning fascia, so that's the front. We slide this piece in, wide section first, into the sail track, and just neatly feed it all the way through. Now it's in place. Now I can clip my strut into place. Remember, the hooked end goes over the little round barrel up inside the awning main body. Simply clip it on, bring this out at an angle, then place it on top of the awning hinge. Now that's in place. We can do the other end. So now we can attach the infill roof piece, which we identified with this hood that goes over the awning main body, and slide that into the sail track of our strut at the front. Just carefully feeding it through. If it jams, pull it back and start again. So put the hook section over the little white barrel there. Now we can slot the front section into place above the hinge. So that's in place. Now we can undo our securing clamps along here and tuck our canvas for the awning roof inside there, clamp it down so it keeps good hold of the roof fabric. When they're new, they will need some kind of adjustment. So now that creates another angular support to the whole structure. We've got our infill roof here, we've got our canvas secured here, and again, it also stops the roof canvas from flapping around. Now we do the same to the other end. Get the awning canvas inside the clamp and clamp it down. Always be gentle with the fabric so it doesn't tear, because aluminium can have a sharp edge or two at times. And we just work it across. Now we can put up some end walls. Now we're going to put the end wall up at the back end of the caravan. Now, if you're struggling to work out which is the back wall and which is the wall at the other end, measure them next to each other, because the end wall on the back of the trailer is actually slightly longer. So that'll help you determine which one's which. As a testament as to how well fitting this annex is and how exact the cut is, I'm able to use the same peg in the corner of the floor for both the D-rings on this section and this end wall. And my Velcro is going to line up perfectly. So what I'm doing is I'm pegging out the base of this end wall before I actually put it up. That'll make sure I get it dead straight and I'm not wrestling with canvas blowing around in the wind. Now just to get the corner pegged in and we can put the wall up. And in the interests of economy, I'm only going to put this peg in halfway again. So it'll hold the floor and this eyelet, and when I put the front wall on, I can use this again for the other eyelet. So now with the end wall, I'm going to start working my way up along the Velcro on the side and then across the top. Well, the wind gusts have started to get a little bit from mild to wild. So as an extra precaution, while I'm setting up the rest of the annex, I've put a couple of guy ropes down from underneath the support legs in the awning. That will absolutely make sure it doesn't blow up over the caravan. Again, I'm on my own, so I don't have someone to secure it for me. So I'm taking every precaution so I don't ruin my trip. Once we've put the roof infill in place and put the little hood over the top of the awning main body, we can attach the Velcro to the infill piece that goes in the sail track. Now I can start putting in the poles up at the front end of the caravan underneath the roof infill. So we need 2 spigot poles. I've already put my pegs and ropes in place. I've gone at 90 degrees to one side and across straight out in front. So that'll hold this corner up on its own without any assistance from me. So just extend my pole, pop my ropes over the top, get it up a little bit higher and tighten my ropes. There we have it, that'll stay in place. Now I can do the other side. For simplicity, I've just hooked one of the guy ropes over the coupling of the caravan and pegged one directly out in front of this eyelet. It's just a matter of popping the spigot in, put my ropes over the top, get my pole to the right length. Now, do up the ropes. The pegs that are used for the ropes on camper trailers and caravan awnings are a bent metal item. Now this style of peg, I've found if you put the peg in at a more acute angle and the angle of the rope is at 90 degrees to the peg, it stops it jamming up in this corner. If you put the peg up too upright and the rope's pulling up like this, as you try and tighten them, it tends to jam in the corner. So lay it over at a 45, get it back far enough so the rope sits at 90 degrees to the peg and it'll do up a lot smoother. So we've done a repeat of the other wall. We've used one peg for the 2 D-rings and the eyelet over in the corner there, and we'll just pop this one in halfway so when we put the front wall on we can do the same here. Now that I've got both end walls in place and the poles up, I think the awning is secure enough now to bring the main legs down, put them in vertical and get rid of these guy ropes so I can put the front wall in and get this annex finished off. So now I can remove the last of my additional guy ropes, get that out of the way and go get my front wall. The sail track on the fascia of the awning will have one entry point only, and this one is up towards the front of the caravan. So we feed our insert in, gently feeding the front wall through. Remember, if it jams, just pull it back a little bit and start again. Don't ever force it. The nature of this nylon makes it very easy to push quite a considerable part of the wall through from this end. There we have it, fed through. As I expected, the D-ring has lined up perfectly with my eyelet in the floor and the D-ring on the other wall. So now one peg again, and I can get this corner buttoned down, finish off my Velcro and peg the rest of the front wall down. Neat as a pin. As great as the annex looks, we're not quite finished yet. We need to put a couple of poles in place. This one is what we call a ridge pole. It has got a bend in it, and when in place it'll put a bit of a pitch in the roof so it's less likely to have water sit on it in the event of rain. So we clip it up onto the white barrel up there, extend it and clip it onto the white barrel on the back of the fascia, then simply push the cam lock in and it's in place. 2 more poles. Firstly, spigot pole. This one goes in the little nylon strap with the eyelet at the front. Now this adds support under the fascia, which allows us to attach a tent rope to the tab on the opposite side and rope that down firmly without loading up the fascia of the awning. So belts and braces, great for windy conditions like today. The last pole is a support pole for this back corner here. It has a rubber boot on each end. What you do is you get the narrower pole end, extend it up a bit, and we place it in this sock sewn into the top of the wall. Extend it down into the corner. Now all our poles are in place, and I'll be back in a sec. I want to show you just how still it is inside this annex while the wind's blowing nearly 20 knots outside. Look at that, it's still quite breezy outside, but inside there's not even enough wind to blow out a cigarette lighter flame. So set up correctly, nice and square, follow the directions, take extra care on windy days, and you can enjoy your annex as a great extension to your caravan. And that's how we assemble the annex on the Forbes 13. It's very simple, take your time, don't force anything, and above all, on windy days, take a few extra precautions.